Washington State is changing rapidly, and you need to know about it. So when you think of Washington, you probably picture endless forests that turn into beautiful mountains and ferry boats and world-class coffee. And you're not wrong, but honestly, that's only the surface of the evergreen state here. Western Washington is currently going through its most significant shift in an entire generation. We are in early 2026, and the old rules of moving here, aka the ones that your friends told you about 3 years ago, are officially dead, and you need to know about the new rules if you plan on making a move here. Well, I am real estate broker Leah Courage, and in this video, we are slowing this concept way down. This is not a top 5 list or a top 10 list. This is actually a masterclass. We are going to break apart the 3 distinct zones of Western Washington, the truth about the 2026 housing reset, and at the very end, we're going to do a deep dive into the massive tax law changes that just took effect this month. So before you look at another listing, you need to understand the version of Western Washington that you are actually buying into, because a mistake here isn't just frustrating, it's very expensive. So let's get started. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of the numbers, let's talk about why people are still flocking in record numbers here despite the changes. So in 2026, Washington remains one of the healthiest and most vibrant states in the entire union. We are consistently ranked in the top 5 for innovation, for environmental quality, and for fitness. So when you live here, your backyard, so to speak, isn't just a patch of grass. It's the Olympic Peninsula and the North Cascades and the San Juan Islands. People here care about where their food comes from and the air that they breathe and the community that they live in and that they're building. It's a place where you can be a high-powered executive on Tuesday and be completely off the grid in a kayak on Saturday morning. That balance is the true north, if you will, of the Washington lifestyle. To understand the market that you're moving into, we have to talk about the Great Reset. So during the COVID years, this market was a battlefield. If you didn't have a massive amount of cash and a willingness to waive your right to have a home inspection, you didn't get a house. But as we enter 2026, that velocity has completely shifted and in a positive way for you if you're planning on buying. So inventory is actually up 25% over the last several years. Interest rates have stabilized near 6%. And for the first time in a decade, the buyer actually has the leverage here. But don't let that fool you into thinking that it's cheap. Prices have not crashed here. They've just stopped the climbing at a super vertical rate. The median home price in the Seattle metro area is still hovering around $800,000. In Bellevue, it's even more at $1.4 million. The reset that's occurred means that as a buyer, you have the gift of time. You can actually think about your decision-making process before submitting a hurried offer. You can actually have a home inspection and negotiate with a seller. But in a region where the land changes every 10 miles, time is only useful if you have a strategy. So let's talk about that. So before we go any further, I have to say, YouTube is for research, but a strategic call is for results. Every single day, my team and I get emails from people just like you who are moving in the next 90 days. They are stressed, they are looking at Zillow at 11 p.m., and they are guessing. So let's stop guessing. If you're serious about making a move to Western Washington, click the link in the description right below right now and go ahead and book a discovery call with us. We aren't going to sell you a house on that call. We're simply going to help build you your roadmap. Do not wait until you've already landed at SeaTac. Let's start building your strategy today. So one of the biggest positives about moving here in 2026 is the sheer resilience of our economy. So while other parts of the country are struggling with job market volatility, Western Washington is actually much more of a fortress. We aren't just a Boeing town anymore, if you will. We are actually the global headquarters for cloud computing and AI development and aerospace innovation. This means that even when the housing market resets, your investment is backed by some of the most powerful companies on earth. So when you buy a home here, you aren't just buying a shelter. You're actually buying a stake in one of the most productive economy regions in the world. Now it's time to discuss the zones I mentioned. So let's talk about Zone 1. So this is the tech, heartbeat. This is King and Snohomish counties. This is the economic engine of the Pacific Northwest. It is driven by Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. And if you move here to Zone 1, you are choosing proximity. In 2026, the big story here is the light rail system. Areas like Linwood, for example, have been completely transformed by the light rail, and they aren't just suburbs anymore. They are real transit-oriented hubs. If you live in Zone 1, your life is about convenience and business and excitement. You have the best healthcare in the world right at your doorstep. You have a vibrant entertainment and food scene that rival many other major U.S. cities, but you pay for it in atmosphere. The home lots here are very small. The houses are very close together, and the pace of life is ultra high octane, especially in King County. If you want to be in the room where everything is happening, then you belong in Zone 1. What's amazing about this area right now is the cultural explosion that it's seeing. So in 2026, we're seeing a renaissance of localism, if you will. In neighborhoods like Ballard and Fremont and Capitol Hill, they've all moved past the generic kind of corporate feel, and they've returned to their true roots as neighborhoods with incredible things like boutique shopping and artisan bakeries and community gardens. There's kind of an energy of newness here, if you will. So if you love walking to amazing farmers markets or having world-class meals that are 10 minutes from your house, then the density of Zone 1 is actually a massive luxury for you. Cross the line into Pierce and Thurston counties, and this energy changes drastically because this is Zone 2. So Tacoma used to be Seattle's affordable kind of ugly cousin, if you will, but in 2026, Tacoma is a total destination. It has a grit and an authenticity that feels a lot more grounded than in Seattle. Tacoma, your $700,000 will actually buy you a historic craftsman with a soul. It will buy you into a neighborhood like the coolest area ever, which is the Proctor District, where people actually know their neighbors' names despite being in a pretty big city. But Zone 2 has a price. It is the Interstate 5 choking point. So if you live in Tacoma, but if you work up in Seattle, you are going to spend approximately 10 hours a week on I-5 staring at brake lights at a minimum. So in 2026, we like to tell our clients, live where you work, if at all possible, or work from home. Please do not try to fight the I-5 corridor if you can help it. It's just too depressing. Further south is Olympia. It's the state capital, but it feels kind of like living in a forest. It's for people who value community and art and the outdoors over the corporate climbing that you'd find up in Seattle. It's quieter, it's greener, and it's even funkier, if you can believe it, than Tacoma. The positive side to Zone 2 is the space to breathe, if you will, especially in comparison to King County. So in 2026, you can find a half acre or even a full acre in communities in Zone 2 like Puyallup or Gig Harbor for the price of a townhome in Seattle. And this is where you're going to find the woodworking shop or the garden of your absolute dreams. The air down here also feels a little bit crisper, and the view of Mount Rainier is so dominant and in your face that it honestly feels like you can just reach out and grab it. And if you're raising a family and you want a yard where your kids can actually run free, Zone 2 is where the new Washington family is planting its roots. Finally, we're going north to Skagit and Whatcom counties. So this is Zone 3. This is where remote work has truly matured into an actual dream. So in 2026, towns like Anacortes and Bellingham are the absolute gold mines of the Pacific Northwest. You move here for the wild. You move here because you want to be 20 minutes from a beach or a ferry terminal or a mountain trailhead, wherever you are. But here is the warning. The lifestyle-rich North has a major job market gap. So while home prices have actually caught up in a lot of areas to the suburbs of Seattle up here, local wages have not. If you aren't bringing your job with you, or if you aren't already retired, then you need to look very closely at the local economy before you sign on that house. You move north for the lifestyle that you gain and not to climb the corporate ladder. And speaking of lifestyle, Zone 3 is absolutely unmatched in this respect. So in 2026, Bellingham has been named as one of the top places in the entire country for remote workers, and for a very good reason. You can finish a Zoom call at 4:30 and be on a mountain or a bike trail by 4:45. The connection to nature here isn't just a hobby, it's a serious lifestyle. This is also where you're going to find some of the most incredible agriculture all across the country. So Skagit Valley produces way more than just the tulips that we're super famous for. It's actually a hub for organic farming and for farm-to-table living that makes your everyday life feel like a vacation. So now that we've explored the zones, as I like to call them, we have to talk about the weather. And I don't mean weather in that it rains sometimes. I mean the big dark, like I talk about in my other videos. So from November all the way through March, much of Western Washington is a marine environment in that the sky feels like it's just 10 feet above your head because there is a thick layer of clouds that can come and sit for days, even weeks on end, blocking a lot of sunlight. It's gray and it's moody, and it can be absolutely relentless. If you're coming from the Sun Belt, this is not only a psychological, but it is a physiological challenge. You will buy a happy light, you will take vitamin D, and you will absolutely find yourself looking at flights in a total panic to Mexico in February. But here is the secret. The winters are the price that we pay for our simply spectacular summers here in Western Washington. July in this region is the best kept secret in North America. Fight me on this. I will go to fisticuffs. We have no humidity. We have no bugs. We have daylight until 10 o'clock p.m. In 2026, the outdoor dining and waterfront culture in this area has peaked. We have more rooftop bars, we have waterfront patios, and we have more public parks than ever before. The winter makes you appreciate the light here, and when that light hits, the entire state turns into a postcard, and a party for that matter. It's the season of crabbing and hiking and get-togethers and outdoor movies. The cities come completely alive in the summertime with concerts and festivals, and you'll forget all about the dreary winters during the summer months here. So ultimately, you're going to have to make a decision. Is the summer gold worth the winter gray? Now we need to dive deep into the logistics that people often overlook about this area. So let's talk first about transportation. So in Western Washington, we don't measure distance in miles, we measure it in minutes here. And in 2026, let me tell you, those minutes are more valuable than ever. So let's talk about the ferries for a minute. The Washington State Ferry System is currently undergoing a massive vessel replacement program right now. While that sounds great for the future, right now in early 2026, that means service is often stretched very thin. So if you're planning on living on an island or in a community like Bremerton or Kingston or on Bainbridge Island, the ferry is your lifeline. But as of this month, ferry fares have actually increased again, 3% across the board. So if you're commuting with a vehicle, you're also facing the new 35% summer peak surcharge for the ferries. These are beyond just minor inconveniences. They are actually structural lifestyle costs that you have to factor in. And also on the ferry, if you miss the last boat, you are driving 2.5 hours around the Narrows Bridge at a minimum if you're lucky. So if you plan on a life with the ferries, you have to be the kind of person who is okay with the occasional unexpected blip in their plans. Then there is the issue of car ownership. So Washington is moving aggressively towards electrification. In 2026, the state has implemented new infrastructure fees for gasoline-powered vehicles. Our gas taxes, unfortunately, remain among the highest in the country due to the massive bridge and tunnel projects that we have along the I-5 corridor. If you have a long commute in a gas-heavy vehicle, you are looking at $300 a month tax on your movement alone. The upside? Well, Washington is the most EV-friendly state in the country. In 2026, our charging infrastructure here is absolutely unrivaled. If you plan to make the switch to electric, you are essentially beating the system, if you will. So with our relatively low electricity costs, thanks to hydroelectric power, and the massive network of fast chargers all the way from the Canadian border down to Vancouver, Washington, you can actually travel the entire state for a fraction of the cost of gas. So moving here is the perfect excuse for you to finally get that Tesla or that Rivian and say goodbye to the gas pump forever. Now let's talk about the cost of maintenance. So living in a marine climate is a war against, let me say it for the people in the back, moisture. I have seen clients buy a beautiful house in October only to realize by April that their roof is covered in moss, that their exterior trim is starting to rot, and that their basement has a serious water seepage issue that they didn't anticipate. In Western Washington, your home maintenance budget needs to be at least double what you would spend in a dry climate like Texas or Arizona. However, because we deal with these elements so much, the quality of the home construction and the renovation here is incredibly high. So Washington contractors are experts in building for the rain, if you will. When you build a home that has been properly maintained here, it's built like a ship. There is a pride of ownership in the Pacific Northwest that leads to some of the most beautiful and well-engineered homes across the entire country. Now, for the part that most people miss until they see their first paycheck or their first property tax bill. As of January 2026, Washington's tax landscape has officially shifted. This is one of the largest tax increases in state history, and it hits specific demographics very hard. First, let's talk about the capital gains tax. So for the last few years, we had a flat rate, but beginning this month, Washington has actually moved to a tiered system. So your first $1 million in taxable capital gains, which includes, by the way, things like the sale of a business or high-value stocks, is taxed at 7%. But any amount over $1 million is now hit with an additional 2.9% surcharge. So that is a 9.9% total tax on your gains. Second is the luxury tax. If you're planning to celebrate your move by buying a high-value car or a boat or an aircraft, the state is going to be your partner in that purchase. As of January 1st, 2026, any motor vehicle with a fair market value over $100,000 is subject to a new 8% luxury tax on the value exceeding that $100,000 threshold. For example, if you buy a new electric SUV for $150,000, you are going to pay your standard sales tax, which by the way in Seattle is over 10%, plus an additional $4,000 in a luxury tax. The state is very clear about this. High-value assets are the new revenue stream. Third, let's look at property taxes. So we're entering a new assessment cycle in 2026. So because home values didn't crash during the reset, the assessed values that are used for your property taxes have remained very high. In counties like King County and Snohomish County, the levy rates have also increased to pay for schools and for transit expansions like the ones that I mentioned earlier. You can expect your property tax bill to be approximately between 1 to 1.2% of your home's total value annually, which for a lot of people coming from different states sounds like a lot. On an $800,000 home, for example, that is nearly $10,000 a year just to keep the lights on in your neighborhood. But it's not all bad news. So for now, we still have no state income tax. If you're a high earner with a standard W-2 salary, your take-home pay here is significantly higher than it would be, for example, in California or Oregon. However, you have to be disciplined about it because in those other states, the government takes your money before you even see it. But in Washington, the government takes your money when you spend it. If you have a high consumption lifestyle, like lots of eating out, lots of buying of luxury goods, or driving very long distances, you might find that the no income tax benefit is actually completely swallowed up by Washington's lovely consumption taxes. But for the disciplined professional, Washington is actually a wealth building machine. Because there is no state income tax here, every single dollar that you earn goes further towards your 401k or your investments or your mortgage principal. In 2026, we're actually seeing more and more families hack the Washington system, if you will, by living a moderate lifestyle while pulling in high Seattle tech salaries. If you can resist the urge to buy the $150,000 SUV and instead put that money into the market or into your home equity, your wealth will build here faster than almost anywhere else on the West Coast. Now, let's talk about the cultural reality, the Seattle freeze, if you will. It's a term that you will hear often, and it refers to the idea that people in the Pacific Northwest are polite, but they're distant. So in 2026, with so much of our workforce still operating on a hybrid or a completely remote capacity, the freeze is actually more real than ever. People here value their privacy and their outdoor time massively. They will be very friendly to you at the trailhead, but they might not invite you over to dinner for 6 months. If you're moving from the South or the Midwest, where neighborly culture is just the default, this can feel incredibly lonely. You will have to be the one to initiate. You will have to join the hiking clubs and the pickleball leagues and the local coffee shop meetups to introduce yourself and make friends here. But here's another side to that same coin, and it's the positive truth. So once you actually break through the freeze, the friendships here are deep and they are lifelong. Washingtonians really aren't the fake nice. They are authentically loyal people. So if someone here calls you a friend, they mean it. You will truly find that your neighbors here are some of the most interesting, well-traveled, and intellectually curious people that you've ever met. So in 2026, the freeze is melting the neighborhoods also where people are intentional about community. If you put in the effort, you won't just have neighbors, you are going to have a village. So who are you? Are you a Zone 1 high-velocity worker, someone who wants to be at the center of the world, near the best hospitals and the best schools and with the highest wages? Or are you actually willing to trade space and serious dollars for a spot in the tech heartland? Or are you more like a Zone 2, a cultural soul, someone who wants a house with history and a neighborhood with a distinct vibe and a community that feels totally grounded? Are you okay with the commute exchange for a front porch with a view of the mountain? Or are you Zone 3? Are you a lifestyle explorer? Are you someone who's done with the rat race and who wants to wake up to the sound of foghorns? Are you willing to manage the logistics of island living or a smaller economy to have the wilderness right in your backyard? There is no better choice. There is only what fits your life and your desired lifestyle. Western Washington is one of the most rewarding places ever, and we absolutely love it here. It's where we chose to build our business and our home, but it demands that you show up with your eyes wide open, and it demands also that you have a plan, because here's the truth. Western Washington will give you back exactly what you put into it. If you put in the work to understand the ferry schedules and the light rail expansions and the seasonal rhythms of the sound, this place will reward you with a quality of life that, in my opinion, doesn't exist anywhere else in the country. So as you're browsing homes for sale in Western Washington online tonight, please don't just look at the square footage of the house. Go ahead and look at the life that that house and that location is going to force you to live. Ask yourself if you're ready to trade the constant sun for the deep, vibrant green that only comes with the rain here. Because if you are, then you are our kind of people, and we cannot wait to welcome you home. Thank you so much for watching, and if this masterclass helped you at all, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so that you never miss a video about life and real estate in the Pacific Northwest. And finally, if you're ready to stop scrolling through all the listings and start building your roadmap, my team and I are waiting for you. Our contact information is below, and we would truly be honored to help you make your next move with confidence and to help you find your slice of the Evergreen State. I am Leah Courage. Thank you so much for watching. Keep exploring, and we will see you in our next video.